called Rona. Rona. It's on
Oh
YouTube.
my, that's horrible, dude.
It is horrible, but I can't help but watch it.
Hello and welcome to Corner Comics, your mostly weekly comic book reading club. My friends and I, we pick a few issues, we share those issues with each other, and then we get together and talk about those issues. Gentlemen, how are you doing on this lovely Sunday?
I'm doing great. It is in the blood. The answer to everything is in the blood.
Okay.
I am prodigiously pleased.
Dude, I need to start bringing a fucking dictionary to the show every week now. Just so I, so I can pick it up and look up whatever word you're going to throw at us. Would you care to share the definition of prodigious?
Sure. It just means great, enormous. Like you can have something that is, it could be a very voluminous book. It's prodigious in its words. It's
Oh,
great.
all right, okay.
Dude, prodigious.
That makes it makes a little more sense. Akin to
more.
prolific, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're forcing those puzzle pieces together.
Right.
All
before
together.
before we get into it, why don't you guys share where people can find you on the interwebs?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Walrus. That's at WALLRUSS. You can also find me at blacksuperherofan.com, comiccreatorsofcolor.com, and here at cornercomics.net.
Nice. All right. You could find me on the gram at Emmanuel, phonetically, EM_MAN_YOU_EL. You can also find me at EmmanuelTheStory.com. Keep up with my blogs, my daily adventures. Also, cornercomics.net.
Yes.
Yeah.
The website, I think, is finally coming along. I like this template a lot more. It seems to format on the phone a lot better, and the articles are easier to read. So, yes, you can find the show notes for all of our podcasts on there. Slowly but surely, I'm going to start to add some of the backlog stuff, as well as articles that we'll write. I just posted one this week. Russ has got one that's ready to go up. Some interesting stuff, sort of some of the conversations that we have offline, I guess, spilling onto the page, as it were. But this week is like no other. We have 6 issues that we're going to be talking about. One of those issues is apparently way too long. But, Russ, you were going to bring a book that I was going to bring, so I was like, all right, let me bring a DC book, and it's going to be a long-ass DC book. So I've got 2 issues. I've got the Old Guard #1. This is the 2017 book and is what the currently trending top Netflix movie is based on. And then my second issue or issues is Crisis on Infinite Earths, Paragon's Rising Deluxe Edition. So this was previously only available in the 100-page Giants. These are stories from the 100-page Giants that DC published. And they weren't available digitally, but now they are, so I'm sharing those with the guys. Russ, what 2 books do you have?
I have brought the following 2 books. The first one is called The Bounce. And it's an Image comic, 2013. You can find it. Anyway, we'll get into it a little more when it's my turn to come back around. The second book I bought is Fantastic Four. It is Empire Fantastic Four 2020. Just came out. I love the Fantastic Four. They are the first family of Marvel Comics, and therefore they should always be part of what we're talking about. We're talking about Marvel, I think, and it's good to see them make this comeback, and I feel like this is classic Fantastic Four and family. So that's why I chose it. Emmanuel, what you got?
Awesome. The first issue that I have is Daredevil, Born Again. It is the 1998 issue. It's just one issue. There's this whole volume that's under the title Born Again, but there's one issue that's called Born Again as well. So we're going to focus on that. The second issue that I brought is Nomobots, #1 from Virus Comics. Nomobots. Ain't no more.
All right. Yeah, we should point out that Virus is an imprint of heavy metal. So as soon as I found that out,
I didn't know that.
I'm into it. Let's do it. But we'll start with the Old Guard, #1. As I was mentioning, this is the book that inspired the hit Netflix movie that's out right now, starring Charlize Theron. The movie pretty much follows the comic almost to a T. In terms of the dialogue and stuff, the visuals are a little bit different. Yeah, what did you guys think of this?
Okay, so I did see the movie, the full movie, unlike some people, which we will not name. Yes, it follows it almost exactly, except for a couple of key things. This has sex in it. The book does. There's none of that in the movie. And they heal faster than Wolverine in the comic.
Yeah, way
in the
fast.
movie, they die.
Yeah.
So that was one of the two big differences. When I looked at the art, no backgrounds. It's just like, I don't need a background. Let me just throw a gradient up there, right? I'm gonna draw this. It's gonna be awesome art, but I ain't got no time for that background stuff. I'm gonna throw another gradient up there, right? So it's just a gradient. The gradient. So there's like really stark backgrounds and whatever color he felt like messing with at that time. But I like the story. I like the movie. So if you like the movie, this is more of that. It is obviously the whole movie takes place over the series and not just this one issue.
Yeah.
So it was going to cut off. I was looking for more. But I was thinking that if you saw the movie, so maybe a little bit of spoilers, the new character that they added, like the new member of their group, I figured they just invented a black person to be a member of their group because Black Lives Matter right now. But apparently they did it in the book also back in 2017. So they didn't just invent it for that. It is part of the story.
Yeah.
So I liked it. I enjoyed it. I felt like it's a much older book because of the whack backgrounds, right? I feel like it's something that was shown, if this book was written 10 years earlier, I don't think much would have changed. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a bit of a throwback. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Emmanuel, what do you think?
I liked it. The art itself, I have to agree with you on the background. Although there is one panel where the newly introduced character now, where she dies for the first time, they had an interesting use of the background in that it kind of faded a bit in the panel. And it's probably because they don't like drawing backgrounds anyway. So to have it fading just seemed very right. But it worked for that scene because she died and it's so dramatic and the background fades. Now, the art, other than the background, it's pretty plain. If there's nothing noteworthy about it, it's still serviceable. It gets the point across. There's nothing really missing. Sans background, but in the foreground, there's nothing really missing at all. It's clear. It conveys what it wants to convey. There's emotion. There's blood. Little thing for you, Russ. Murder. But all in all, it's really good. The story, very much like Highlander, with a certain twist, and I love it. I loved that series growing up. I don't know if that's where they grew their or took their inspiration from, or if it's just a similar storyline because you're talking about immortals, people that have lived for ages, so you're going to have that parallel. Either way, I'm all for it. This is a well done story. The series was good too, or the movie was good. It was a nice introduction. Oftentimes people would read the book first and it has more than the movie. This one complements it. There's some certain text or dialogue that is verbatim, word for word, the same. So
yeah, the intro text in particular, I feel like was directly Like they just use that same dialogue at the very beginning of the movie that they use at the beginning of the comic book.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a little bit bigger on the art than you guys.
Well, okay, I'm going to say I did like the art, but it's certainly better than average. But uh, uh, I just liked it. I can't say more than that. I didn't think it was, oh my goodness, or that amazing, but I did like it. I found it enjoyable. Sometimes distracting with the big noses or the noses too high on the face, things like that, for some of the characters. But other than that, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it has a good style to it. I would have loved to have seen this translated more for the movie, because the movie is very much shot like just any military action movie. And the only way that you can really tell that the source material is a comic book is based on the axe that she carries. Like that's the only thing that visually um, ties the two works together.
Okay, so when you're looking for something else visually, do you mean like the actors should have looked more like they did in the comics? What are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about like so the book itself in terms of the art it does a lot of color blocking, right? I think you could do that cinematically, or through the
Okay.
cinematography. Do like like when I think they're in Paris or something at the beginning of the book, and they're having some wine, and it's very like purple is the dominant color that appears over the
Yeah,
pages.
my thought is the people that wrote and drew it are not the same people who have a vision for the movie.
True, but like,
So I think things have to change in translation.
yeah, I mean, I can agree with that to a certain extent. Sin City is a perfect example of like how you translate something from comic
Right.
to movie, or 300, where you
Hmm.
do it from comic to movie, and you carry a lot of the like the visual feel of
Hmm.
the comic itself into the film. Um, and I would have liked to have seen a little more effort on that part for the movie, but um, I don't know the way that it uses negative space and pulls in the gutters into the panels and things like that, and the color blocking. I really like. I think that it's a nice technique, and makes it stand out a little bit better. And to your point, it does feel kind of old, so it's it's a style that's going to carry forward as well. I
Yeah,
feel like. Um, but yeah,
I don't want to say not old, but not dated, just older.
yeah, yeah. Classic, I guess.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay.
You picked Sin City and you picked 300. Very good films. But you have to mention The Spirit as well,
Yes.
which
Oh, yeah, that does. Yeah, it does
wasn't
similar
all
thing.
that great. But yeah, the cinematography, I think that was kind of a failed. It was along the same lines, but I think The Spirit kind of failed in that respect. It didn't
Yeah,
do as good
yeah,
enough job.
I feel like this is a different medium. You're not going to get comics on the page. You're going to get, for example, just to stick at Marvel movies, Captain America can't look like what he looks like in the comics. Daredevil can't have a skin tight costume. There's certain things that are going to have to be different in this medium. So I figure those things, uh, uh, you're not going to, otherwise, you just go animate it, right? You can animate it block for block, color for color,
Yeah.
any movie. But I think when you go live action, you don't get, it depends on the vision of the director, right? If the director has a vision, it's not, he has a vision of what it would look like on screen. He's not looking like what it looks like in the comic so much as trying to get the essence of what he experienced on the screen. So I don't think most of these things translate well unless you go super stylized like Sin City or something like that.
Okay.
I think you have to go modern.
Here's a
Uh,
question
Could
for
be.
both of you then.
okay.
Because DC animation does so well, um, why do you why do you think that there's a tendency to go more live action translation than animated? Because I feel like if this were an animated movie, I probably wouldn't have fell asleep in the middle.
That's you, man. Don't be just like, oh, you didn't do it good enough, man. There's a reason. It's the number one thing on Netflix. You said it, and you fell asleep. The problem is not everybody else, man.
Just saying.
Nope, sorry. This is a movie. I'll give you an example. There was a movie Tom Hanks did that was from a comic, in which he was a hitman and he was running with his son. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, it does. I don't know what movie it is though.
I don't remember. So, this has comic source material. This is not a comic book movie. See the difference?
Yeah.
Right? Captain America is a comic book movie. Superman is a comic book movie. Has comic book source material, but it is not that comic re-represented on the screen.
Okay.
If they would have went less hardcore and kind of did it subtly, not as much as Scott Pilgrim versus the World, but kind of subtle like that, and had maybe those transitions look more like panels. I don't know. I kind of see where Matt was going with that. If I get a bit more comic book feel, I could appreciate it a little bit more.
I think that, remember, this isn't just for people who like comic books. This is for people who like action movies or a science fiction premise.
Yeah.
They may never read the comic, and we need something for them too. So I don't think you have to be true to the medium and make it look like a comic on screen. I think you have to tell the story, get all the story beats in and the heart and put it in there. And then you got enough of the essence of it, right? It's like Marvel is never going to have everything. I'm just thinking if they started X-Men, they're never going to tell all those freaking stories, right? There's no way, right?
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to have to get the essence of it, get the story beats. This has comic book source material. But if you didn't know it was comic source material, if you saw the movie and you know what I'm saying, I don't think that they should make it look like it's a comic on screen just because that's where they got their information from, right? Like people makes movies from books. It doesn't look the same way it does in the book, even as it's described, but they get those beats in, right?
Yeah.
Because you really can't do a whole book in 2 hours and do it justice, all right? So I don't think. I feel like it's bougie to say this should have looked more like a comic book.
Okay.
That's
fair.
You know, I think it's a good story in a sci-fi kind of way. And I think as a movie, say you didn't know, you never read this comic. Does the movie stand up? Does it? And then you go back and read the comic. Is the essence still there? And I feel like it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, off on that. Let's get on your other novel.
All right, moving along. My second issue or issues of the week. Crisis on Infinite Earths, Paragons Rising. This was originally published in 2 issues. These are the 100-page giants. And the original, so this is original stories and reprints. So like the issue number 1 has the original stories that show up in this digital deluxe version, and it also has like the original Crisis on Infinite Earths from back in the late 80s is when that story was published.
I want to say yeah.
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 So the 100-page giants have both, but the digital version just has the new stuff. And the reason that I wanted to share this with you guys is because it ties directly into the CW Crisis on Infinite Earths, and is from what I gather, is the preamble story to what happened in the TV shows, and is also written by Marv Wolfman, which is the guy that did the original Crisis on Infinite Earths. So I felt like this was just like a perfect storm of things. And wanted to know what you guys thought because you guys are bigger DC fans than I am.
I'll go. Okay. Let me go.
Please do.
I am excited about this. I was really taken aback by the fact that Matt, of all people, chose this book. Not really being an avid watcher of the Arrowverse or like what goes on in the CW universe, and you came up with this. This was great. It shows a lot of what happened in the background, what was kind of implied on the television series when they did that Crisis run. And Ray wasn't mentioned or wasn't in it at all, or the Ray. So to see him in the comic, kind of playing behind the scenes and doing some things here and there, this was a treat. He's not necessarily one of my favorite characters, but he is one of those characters that you see and it's like, oh, I know that guy. So to see him play a bigger role with, I think it's Talia al Ghul as well, and just some other side characters, this was good. I liked it. The art itself, it wasn't too wonderful or fantastic, but it was good. It was good. You could see the shine, the sheen, the shadows, all the S's. It was it was nice to have Felicity Smoke, and she gets a lot of flack for her character, but to see her mourn Ollie or Oliver Queen and see that transition from okay, I want him back, and now he has a purpose, a greater purpose than just telling people that they've failed this city. So it was nice to see more volume to the characters. That's it.
Okay. So now I, up until probably the end of last year, or maybe even beginning of this year, watched everything CW, superhero wise.
Yeah.
I'm caught up on all of that, especially the crossovers, right? I'm caught up on it. I saw all of it. Now, being a DC guy and also watching this, I feel like CW is at best DC light, right? It ain't that deep. And pretty much the whole CW universe is all about Felicity's feelings. And pretty much this book is all about Felicity's feelings. And I don't care if you can control the universe. I want Oliver. I don't care, bitch. He's dead. Get out of my face. Why are you messing with me? I'm trying to save the multiverse, and you care about one dude. And you coming at me for it. So I felt, okay, so I see what they tried to do here. They tried to take the DC Light universe, CW, and tried to give it the depth of the regular Crisis that you would normally get in the comics. They tried to put more at stake. They tried to bring in all the characters. If you are a fan of the CW show, this is a great add-on for you. It gives you a lot more with the characters you know and have feelings for, right? So in that, and it brought in things that you never have time for in these crossovers and in the TV shows. It brought in explanation and exposition and conversations that would have been dropped or cut due to time. So that part is great. However, CW DC is always ever going to be DC Light, right? It's never going to be, anywhere near as much at stake as what's in the comics, right? I'm not hating on it. I watch it, but I know what I'm getting into, right?
Okay.
This is watered down CW with a whole bunch of emotions, right? This is more emotions than you get in a regular comic book, right? There's no way that Felicity Smoke in a regular comic book would ever get in everybody's face over her man who's already dead. Nobody got time for that. So she's all in this 800-page book, by the way, that you made me read. All right, because I'm trying to get a feel for it. I'm like, is this done yet? Oh my God, I'm only a quarter of the way done. Matthew. So the art wasn't amazing. I do see that they tried to legitimize it to sort of give it the kind of depth that you would normally get in the Crisis, and it was a good effort, right? I just don't care because in the scheme of things, none of this stuff even matters, right? None of these universes, whatever, there's no lasting negative anything to any of this, right? When it's done, all the universes will be back in place again, right? Everybody will be back where they're supposed to be, right? And that's what actually happened. They may not know it yet. The TV show may not get caught up. But in the end, who died for real? Nobody, right? In the original Crisis, Supergirl died for real. Flash died for real. Right? Flash died for real so long that Wally West became the Flash for 20 real years of our life.
Well, yeah. So they killed Black Wally West in this.
Yeah, he's back. Don't worry, he's back. Don't even. They rebooted the universe, man. Oliver Queen turned into the Spectre and rebooted the universe. Everybody's back. Let it go. Ray's back. Just because you haven't seen him on a TV show, that's because of COVID, right? It's coming.
All right.
Nobody really died, right? You don't sit there and hold, even because I watched the crossover, and what was the Superman? Who was the guy who was the Atom, but his character also played the Superman? I can't remember his name.
Ray Palmer.
Yeah, Ray Palmer.
Brandon
He dies. That Superman version of him dies, but at the end of Crisis, he's back on his Earth. No
Okay.
significance. So you go through all of this emotion. Supposedly, it's the thing. There's nothing at stake, and that's what was missing for me, right? Yes, Wally West died, but I knew he was coming back, right? I already knew, so it don't matter, right? Who else died? Does it matter? Nobody, except Oliver, which we knew a year in advance that he wasn't going to come back.
Well,
right?
they were ending the series, right?
Yeah, he knew, but he knew that it was already in. Everybody who watched the TV show already knew this was his last season. And he was doing it short, right? That he was done. He was done. He's not coming back. Everybody knew, right? So then you get this book out. There's what's at stake in this book?
I don't know if there's anything at
Felicity
stake,
Felix.
but like the Infinite Luthor story was kind of cool. Like,
Yes, I will. There were a couple things. The Council of Luthors.
yeah, dude.
I like that
there's some
shit a lot.
There's some great ideas here.
Yes, I'd like to, but that's been done, right? There's been a Council of Dooms, Council of Reed Richards, right? So it's not like it was brand new, right? There's been a Council of Superman before, also, right? But the Council of Luthors, and then one Luthor, the one Luthor that's on the CW is the most evil of them all.
Yes.
Get the frack out of here! Are you
And
serious?
and it's John Cryer, which is
Yeah, no, and don't get me wrong, John Cryer is killing it as Luthor.
yeah,
Right?
dude.
John Cryer just I watched, and Supergirl is a terrible show, but John Cryer is fucking killing it as Lex Luthor. Like, I buy it, right? I like him, right? That's a good villain. Like, he's the closest thing to Doctor Doom anyway to DC Comics. He is killing it as Lex Luthor. Don't get me wrong, right? Please, if you need me to sign off on his shit, yes, completed, job well done, whatever, Emmy, you got it. But there's no way I believe that the Luthor of the CW DC universe is the most evil of them all. I'm just not going to go with that. But anyway, those are my thoughts.
All right. Any final thoughts from Emmanuel?
Well, speaking of John Cryer, I forget exactly which Superman movie it was, but it's the Christopher Reeves movies of Superman. John Cryer, young John Cryer, was seen in that. I think he was, I forget where
He was
maybe
Luthor's
like a
nephew
peon.
or something.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So he was still a Luthor.
which was played by Gene Hackman.
Yes, Gene Hackman.
Yeah. Awesome way to bring it all together.
Yeah.
And then shout out to the Electric Blue Superman because he makes a brief appearance in one of the panels.
And the Council of Luthors just seemed to get stupider when a whole bunch of them were together, right?
Well, there's a lot
Go
of
ahead.
infighting, right? Because you've got all that ego. How do you contain all that ego?
Yep.
There's no
You
way
can't.
that all that ego in one room works. Like,
You're right. I agree.
so I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. There is a lot of extra stuff too for anybody that picks up the digital version of these stories. There's like a whole mini essay by Marv Wolfman talking about the TV series, and there's some extra art stuff in the background where they show like the designs of the outfits. It's kind of a cool thing to own. If you want to pick it up on Comixology or I think you can buy it on the DC website too. But yeah, I was happy that this made it digitally because I had talked about how I picked up those 100-page giants to try and get deeper into the DC universe and acclimate myself more with some of this lore. So I was happy with it. Moving on though, Russ, your first issue of the week.
My first issue of the week is called The Bounce. I remember reading this some years back. This is a 2013 book, and it just intrigued me. What if there was a Spider-Man type character that smoked a bowl every day? What would that be like? Could that work? Would people read that book? And I was intrigued by it. And I'll leave it at that and ask, what do you guys think?
I am intrigued by his powers because he is just very buoyant. I'm not really getting that. So if he goes up into a surface or goes up against a surface, he can take that force and exponentially bounce to wherever it is he wants. I'm still confused about the physics of it. I mean, it's comics. It doesn't have to make complete sense scientifically, but I would like at least some sense of explanation. Maybe they get into it in other issues, but that confused me, but not negatively. That was just a question that popped in my head. Now, visually, great, especially when they're smoking. There's the smoke and just, yeah, I don't know why, but that intrigues me. There's also art on the wall. There's a television playing in the background, and it's a lot of detail. I definitely appreciate the amount of detail that goes into the background here, which is a stark contrast from the first issue that we reviewed, which has zero background. This has just very detailed, great, and it does not detract from what's in the foreground as well. So visually, I am pleased. As a story, I want to take the superhero seriously, although he's not really taking his life all that seriously, which is good. Nothing wrong. That's his character. That's who he is as a character. I appreciate that. But just the science of his powers. When you punch him, does your arm just recoil back super fast? I don't know. I want to know more. So there's questions that has arisen within me that makes me want to read another issue. So job well done.
Before you go in, Matt, I want to say there are two characters exactly like this, both in one in DC and one in Marvel. In DC, the Legion of Superheroes has someone called Bouncing Boy, who basically swells up and right. And then in Marvel, in the New Warriors, you have Speedball, who's basically a kinetic bouncer as well. So this is a trope that's already been there before. This isn't new. But Matthew, what do you say?
I'm surprised that you picked this book, partially because of the glaring character flaws. Like how you can't have somebody that is like that be a superhero.
That's what I wanted you to say.
It's not possible to be a drug addict like that, because it's not.
He's just smoking weed, man. Are you telling me weed makes you a drug addict?
It's not even telling me that. It's not even just weed, dude. Because they get to the end, and he's at a club, and some dude is like the manifestation of LSD, infects him in a. It just I don't know. Number one, if I was a superhero, I wouldn't be going to city clubs and giving people money to, inhale body odor and get high.
All I'm saying is they're not giving you powers. They gave him powers, right?
Right.
So he didn't. So he got powers, and he's a slacker. So he can't be a superhero because he doesn't operate like you. What are you saying here?
I don't know. It's
not worthy.
It's kind of on the limitless argument, right? Like, what if there was a drug like that? Would you do it? We've had that conversation before, off air. I don't know. It's hard for me to buy into it because, there's
you want all your heroes to be clean and pristine. This is not a DC book. This is Marvel. All my heroes are flawed. Actually, he's Image. But you know what I mean. He's a flawed character.
Yeah. I don't know. It's okay. I don't know. It does bother me a little bit.
Got it. What did you think of the story? Other than the fact that you didn't like him because he was so drug-inducedly flawed.
I think it's interesting. I am kind of curious what this, because it seems like at the end of the book he gets pulled into like an alternate reality, right?
Guess we'll have to read the next issue. to
Yeah.
find out.
So to that end, I'm kind of interested in it. The art I thought was actually pretty good, even though there are some moments where the digital trickery that they do does show through. Like Emmanuel was saying, like you liked the fact that you could see like the TV screen and the artwork in the back. Those are very clearly digital tricks that they've done. Somebody didn't draw that in. They drew an image and then shrunk it down and put it in that panel type of thing. The when they're on the rooftops and he's fighting the big dude with the Nightwing style mask. The background for that is like another image that's superimposed on the back of the drawing of that guy. So they do a lot of stuff like that, and then like the motion that he makes when he bounces, that's a Photoshop effect. It's not something that somebody actually drew. So it's interesting the way that it's used. I like that, and I'm surprised that you don't see that more.
This your reaction surprises me a little bit. When this came out before the current next new generation of young Marvel characters, and I was thinking this was 2013, so what, 7 years ago?
Yeah.
I was thinking if they're going to have, when we think of the young people, the 19 and 20-year-olds of that time, which not that long ago, but you know what I mean? They get high.
Yeah.
Right? So, and they, look at them running out in COVID doing what they do. So let's just say you got somebody slacker and they get powers because they was getting high.
Yeah.
That can't happen?
No, I suppose it could. Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it'd be a good hero. I'm not saying it'd be a sustainable hero, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
And it makes sense in these times, right?
Yeah.
Why isn't there a book about that culture getting powers? This is that book, right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of young people in their 20s smoke kind of regularly, just like, more often than breakfast. You know what I mean? I'm not hating on the culture. I'm saying that culture is also a culture that can be represented in comics.
True.
But according to Matt, unacceptable behavior, you get your powers taken away because you are not responsible. There's a whole bunch of irresponsible people with powers all the time.
Okay.
Anyway, go ahead.
You see, back in the day, like in the 70s,
Yes.
they did a lot of after-school special type preaching because there was, I think they had a sense of responsibility to the public to preach against these ills of society. So one in particular I'm thinking of is Speedy, Green Arrow's sidekick. He was on drugs. And when that came out and his whole rehab process and all that, that was a big deal because they wanted to speak about the ills of heroin, which, don't get me wrong, like, yes.
Yeah, but that's when they were putting people in jail for weed, like 20 years in jail because you got a fat sack of weed, right? There was no drug policy at all, right? None. Come on.
But I know there's not the world now, but you have this big thing that's been lumped into comic history. Yes. So now you have this new turn of the century, this new acceptance. This is this culture, and weed has not been vilified anymore. It's not vilified. You're not sending anyone to prison anymore, although there are still people. Anyway, tangent. Now how do you write this?
So you trying to tell me you got a team full of 20-somethings and nobody smokes weed? Are you serious? Really?
No,
let me explain. What is the likelihood that there's 3 gay characters on your 20-something-year-old team as opposed to no one that smokes weed? I'm just saying, right? You're gonna force it, and I'm not.
You're
whatever lifestyle you want, right?
I'm
saying more people smoke weed.
You're saying statistically that
yes,
the likelihood
that 3 out of 10 minimum should be smoking weed. Am I wrong? Come on. It can help with your
Should be.
workout, I hear. Right? Really?
30%. That's okay.
Yes.
All right.
Do drugs, kids, not don't
Right.
do
Doctors
drugs,
smoke
kids.
weed, man. It's prescribed. Come on. Anyway, so decent book, interesting.
Yeah, it was
I'll take that.
interesting.
All right.
I think it's on the same level of Limitless. I I don't know the BO dude that bothers me. Like I don't know
Good.
how you go to another universe in a seedy bathroom sniffing some dude's BO, but like
What, you think everything only happens at the Justice League headquarters? Come on, man. This is a universe. Anything can happen anywhere.
Very true. You can sniff somebody and just go somewhere else. I think his body was made out of DMT or something. You're just gone.
I'm just saying, if you can get high and get a superpower. Oh, by the way, there's this new Jamie Foxx movie coming to Netflix. Have you seen it?
no.
Yes.
There's a trailer for it. Basically,
Yes,
there's this drug that will give you superpowers for 5 minutes.
Okay.
And you don't know what that power is going to be. But Jamie Foxx is one of the people that's trying to stop it.
Okay.
And one of the guys from the young kid that was from Third Rock from the Sun, John, what is his name now? Not Lithgow, the younger boy.
I don't remember his name, but I know what you're talking about. I like him.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
his face. I don't know his name.
Yeah, he's in it too.
Okay.
So check out. So, we're talking about powers and drugs and Limitless. Are you trying to tell me if I got drugs and I come to you and these drugs work, superpowers for 5 minutes, Matt? You saying, no, I'm not going to do it? Or are you going to say, wait till my wife leaves?
I
What you going to
might, I might try it on the weekend.
do? Okay, see? Right? And if you get superpowers, is that a bad thing? Are you a bad person? No. Right? You might like that power. Be like, well, can I get a weekly supply? Can we work out some kind of deal? Right? I can save lives for 5 minutes at a time. I could be Minuteman.
5-minute man.
Yeah, right? Anyway, yes, I think there's a place for this type of hero, and I thought that was very interesting. And if you go into the show notes, you can read this for free legally on Image Comics website. So when you go back and take a look at the show notes, you'll be able to read this book and see if you agree with us and share your thoughts. With that, I'll move on to my second book, which is Empire Fantastic Four 00. It's a prequel to the Empire thing. And it shows how the Fantastic Four have come into the conversation. For me, Fantastic Four is the first family of Marvel. I think this book, both visually and story-wise, really epitomizes who the Fantastic Four is in the Marvel universe. They are a family, right? And they handle all those things. They have great powers, and they don't trip when something ridiculous and cosmic happens. They just deal as a family. Right. And they still mess with each other like brothers and sisters do and laugh at each other and sock each other. And all that stuff is happening. But they are ready. They're fantastic for a reason. They can deal with the fantastic. Now that you had my intro, tell me what you guys think.
All right. So I was going to bring this book on. Russ caught that in a tweet that I put out there talking about how good this book was. So this would have been one of my picks eventually. I really enjoyed it. The artwork is fantastic, and this feels very classic Marvel, very classic epic Marvel. And R.B. Silva and Pepe Larraz, they were the two guys that worked on House of X and Powers of X, and they're working on Empire. I just want them to do every major Marvel event every year for the next however long they're going to be doing these. Because I feel like this is on the level of John Buscema and Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko. Like that's the way that I feel about this. Like it has that feel to it. So yeah, the story is really cool. The casino planet that they end up at, and all the stuff that you were talking about family and this and that. It's been a really long time since I've paid attention to Fantastic Four. because it feels like it is all the same stuff, but this is a little bit different. It feels kind of refreshed. I don't know how else to describe it other than that. Um, and maybe it's because I haven't really paid attention to the Fantastic Four in so many years that it's kind of nice to go back. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, it's classic Marvel. You've got, the Thing jumping in. Doesn't necessarily say that it's clobbering time, but he might as well. you know, Overall, great book, great intro into the whole Empire conversation and this main event. Definitely worth everybody's time if you're going to be following this Marvel event this year.
Yeah. All right. So I'd have to jump on the bandwagon as well and say the art was fantastic. The art was great, lovely. I want more. The story itself, I think there was a time, maybe a whole year or so, where there wasn't anything printed. It's certainly not of quality, but nothing printed from the Fantastic Four.
Yes.
I gotta say, at that point in time, I really didn't miss them.
Yeah.
Now, I love the Fantastic Four, and this has refurbished my love for them. I see the dynamic. I see how they're a family and not just a team or a group of people working together for a common end or purpose, like the Avengers, like the Justice League. They're a family. And you see that it is very, very much there. Also, the humor, the wit, I appreciate the buddiness of the Thing and Torch, how they get on each other's nerves on purpose. You really didn't see too much of the brother-sister dynamic between the Storms, but it's there. It's really nice. And I didn't catch it until now, looking back at the panels, how there's 6 of them in the ship. There's Reed, Sue, Ben Grimm, Johnny Storm, and then there's Vivian and Franklin. I think her name is Vivian, right? Younger girl. No, it starts with a V. Val?
Valeria, right?
Valeria,
Okay.
yes, he was named by Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So the core 4 have 4 on their chest, but Val has a V and
Franklin has an F. Yeah.
Franklin has an F. That I didn't notice that until now. That pleases me because I don't want to see 4 on 6 people because it would irk me a bit. So I appreciate that little small detail. The fact that they can go into space. They do space right. No knock to Guardians of the Galaxy, but Fantastic Four, they can go into space. They can go into the inner depths of the Earth, and I wouldn't blink an eye because that's just what they do. They traverse everything. They've gone into the negative zone. They've gone into outer space. They've gone, I don't know if they've gone into deep sea, but if they do, oh yeah, because they've met Namor and they have this whole thing. So yeah, they're just travelers. So I appreciate them on their adventures. They do space better than Guardians of the Galaxy, who are the Galaxy's Guardians. So I loved this issue. This was great. Nothing but high praises on every.
Yeah. And there's a DC equivalent to the Fantastic Four, right?
No.
They have no powers, but they're called Challengers of the Unknown.
And they're a family of travelers.
They're a family by situation, but they have become family.
Okay.
I don't think they're and it's not just necessarily 4, but they have a smart guy. They have a sort of speedy, a guy who's like a race car driver, sort of like Doom Patrol type characters, but they're no powers. They're just, but they are doomed in their own way. They always going into stuff that's way over their head, and they got to find a way with no actual powers to get through it and have each other's back and look after each other. If you're looking for a DC spin on this conversation, Challengers of the Unknown might be that, and they've been around for a long time also.
It's kind of funny in the context of this particular show. I think Valeria is a better Felicity Smoke.
Yes, but Valeria in this comic is smarter than her father.
Yeah. That's what Felicity's powers are basically, right? She has genius level intelligence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know if Jean Leo's hacker genius. She's not. You don't put her up there with Cisco, right? You don't put her up there with Cisco. I don't think she has genius level intelligence. I think she's a super powered hacker.
Okay.
I don't.
Well-
I don't give her. You know.
She went to the Flash place along with Cisco and out hacked him. Well,
Yes,
granted,
because in her
Yeah.
one area,
yeah,
in her
He is
one
a hacker.
area, she is supreme. But everywhere else, she ain't fucking with genetics. Come
Mm.
on, right? Right? That's a Cisco thing, right? Cisco will fuck with your genetics, right? She will mess with technology. She will use technology that's out there and she will hack it to pieces. But I don't give her genius level.
Okay.
Wow, I've seen the Challengers of the Unknown comic back when they were 10 cents. Just so you know, Challengers of the Unknown have been around that long.
Nice.
All right. I believe. Is there anything else you want to say on my second pick? We said it all.
Yeah. Yes, I do want to mention how this answers the question. One of the other Empire books that one of you introduced, how at the very end you saw the Fantastic Four arriving. You didn't know if they came with, like, what side they were on, and this answers that question. They just so happened to arrive at the same time, so it's not as if they've joined a side. They just
Right.
really want to protect those kids.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it does link up with Avengers Empire #0. The other thing that I would say is that this is a better single off story than Avengers Zero.
Yes.
So this one you can pick up and read, and you don't have to go any further. You can just enjoy the story. It has a beginning, middle, and end, and it's done.
Right.
But it does give you the last little bit of, oh, hey, here's the intro into the rest of the event, so you can follow it if you want. But in terms of like a single issue, if you were just to buy this issue, it stands up, and it's a solid standalone story.
I want to say that when Fantastic Four disappeared from the comics, it's about the time they started having bad movies. This was the time where Marvel didn't own the rights.
Right.
Remember?
Yeah.
So Marvel didn't want to create comics to hype up a movie they weren't getting paid for.
Right.
So they just stopped the books. But now they own it, they can write those books again.
You know, it's funny. This will be a little bit of a tangent, not quite a tangectory, but
I'll go with it. I'll allow it.
Yeah, when I would say it's like 6 years ago, when they did the X-Men versus the Inhumans TV show was on ABC. It was before Disney had worked out the deal with Fox to get the rights for X-Men. It was almost like they were trying to overpower the X-Men in comics to take over that, so that you didn't, because the movies are so bad.
That series was terrible.
Yeah, but the TV series was pretty bad. I tried to watch it again yesterday. Even I put it on for a little bit, and I was like, The costumes are cool.
Yeah.
The CG hair's not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. The writing. One of the characters, his whole ability is to find your weakness and find the weakness in anything, and
Yeah.
that he still keeps getting into predicaments where he failed to find a weakness in something.
Well,
Come on.
Look, your power, you have a power doesn't mean you don't have feelings, and your power's not on all the time. And if you care about somebody, maybe you're not using your power, you're just loving them. And then, like, why did you see that? Because I was being a human. Right?
Yeah.
My power isn't
Or
on
an
all.
idiot.
Human Torch isn't on fire all the time.
Yeah, but if he, I don't know, if he dies for something that could have been saved because he needed fire, I would.
You
That would feel
die
horrible.
because you love. You're willing to die for those you care about.
Listen, I forget exactly what situation it was, but it was he wasn't distracted by love.
He was BS.
He wasn't distracted by. It
So,
was just
yeah.
poor writing.
Yeah, I agree. It was poor writing in the series. But I'm
Right.
just saying, Felicity Smoke exists for a reason.
Moving on.
Not that moving on. Okay.
All right, man. Your first issue of the week.
It is Daredevil Born Again, and this issue came out in 1990 or 1986, I do believe.
Yeah.
And this is issue number
230.
230. So thank you, whoever added that. Yeah. So let me give you a bit of a background about this issue. Kingpin has learned Daredevil's secret. It's kind of public knowledge now, and he has destroyed Matt Murdock's life. And Matt has now have to like go into hiding. His life spirals out of control. I forget her name. Karen has exposed his secret, and there's chaos ensues. Matt is going through depression, madness, and they kind of did a bit of this in the more recent Netflix series where Matt is in a convent, like he's held up in a church, and he's kind of hiding from the world. He's recuperating. So that was similar to the storyline, but that's where they got it from, this 1986 run. And this is highlighted as one of the best storylines about Daredevil, which has been done really well. Like, just the stories of Daredevil have been consistent. So what do you guys think?
Let me say this. You, like Matt, like to give me 500 pages to read. This thing you gave us, it even says it on the second page. It collects Daredevil's number 226 to 233. So 7 issues you made me read.
You read all 7?
I didn't want you to know. You don't care. I know you don't care. Matt, I know you don't care.
I plugged in just issue 230 so that you could read just that.
Well, the way that the link that you guys provided, it was all of them collected together. How am I supposed to know where to just, So
I also mentioned just scroll down. Just scroll down to the issue that reads Born Again.
Anyway, you novel making me read mofos low down around this town. You owe me. I'm going to put 2 500-page books for my next issue. You just don't care about my life at all. I see that. You don't respect me. You'll pay. No worries. There will be retribution. Now, I read all this series back in the day. I don't know that each of these books stand alone well. I think you kind of need to read all of it. So I think if you're going to go back and read this, read the graphic novel that somebody made me read. The art is very much of that time, which means there's nothing wrong with it. It's just it's of that time. I did notice a lot of stark backgrounds, not as bad as the old guard. But when they chose to put some details, and you could tell there's different issues, because in some of these issues, the backgrounds are very stark, and some, there's more going on. But there's a lot of, hues, different colors and all that. All in all, the story I liked. It made me miss the TV series, which I think was a very good TV series, probably the best of Marvel on Netflix.
Yeah.
And part of this was put into that book. I liked all of that. And it was good to see. It made you feel something. It was emotional. This is, I don't want to say a sitcom, but it's very much a drama, right? And taking all of it together, there's a lot of things to feel. There's a lot of emotions that make sense, that flow well. You know why everybody does what they do. You don't question that, right? You know why people are behaving this way, why they're doing this thing, what they're trying to obtain, what they're trying to accomplish. You feel and understand and see those story arcs that happen in this book. So I think all in all, I mean, who can you blame for the writer anyway? All in all, Frank Miller. By the way, he's got another series that's coming on Netflix. By the way, if you didn't know. But all in all, definitely a great Frank Miller book. Very much a classic storyline. So much so that Netflix tried to emulate it, and not just in one episode, but in a season, which is how it should have been done anyway.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed the book. I would not tell someone new to read this one issue 230. I would tell someone new to read this series. It's a great book, bookend type of graphic novel that I think every Marvel comic guy should have read or should read?
Yeah,
Those are my notes.
so we briefly mentioned Frank Miller. I mean, this is probably one of his biggest um, runs in comics. Like this is always looked fondly upon. Um, as we mentioned, it is the um, it was the influence for the Netflix series. And I would say that going back to kind of what we talked about with the Old Guard, the Netflix series did a better job of emulating the look and feel of the comics
Agreed.
from a cinematic standpoint. So it doesn't have to be uh, comic-y. I don't know, put that in quotes, but there are things that you can do, cinematically to make it look more like the feel that the comic gives you.
Yes.
So this particular issue 230, I think is interesting for a number of reasons. In the context of when it came out, I mean, this is a single issue that you have Daredevil not being Daredevil. You have everything else happening around him, and a whole hell of a lot of text. But Daredevil is not Daredevil in this book. He is laid up in a bed in a church and is recovering. That I think took that took some balls to publish. Especially as a single issue. You could have lost a lot of readers that way. But the way that it's written, I think, is really well done, and it's definitely on a more adult level than a lot of other comics, because it deals more with the personal and the emotional rather than the fantastical.
Yes.
The other
Well,
thing
that's
that
Frank Miller.
yeah, and that is Frank Miller. That's the way that he writes. Although I would say that Dark Knight Returns is more action heavy than this this run of Daredevil.
I can see that.
Interestingly enough, so I was going back through and reading some old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics, which were published in around the same time, 86, 87. And I don't know why books of this time did this, but having the text off to the side in the negative space in the margins, in the gutter, why that was a thing, I don't know. But it gives it sort of a more of a novel quality than just having the boxes of text inside or on top of the images.
Makes
Having
sense.
it separated gives it a
I
different
never
feel.
I never really liked it. It's just something I accepted. But it is makes it more of a novel than anything else.
Yeah. Um, Overall, I mean, I'm not huge on this one single issue, and I'll echo the sentiments that Russ said. You kind of have to read the whole thing in order to get the most out of this. Um,
I get that.
but yeah, I don't know. I mean, half naked Kingpin kicking people's ass. That's the action that you do get in this issue, and for what it is, it's satisfying. But yeah, I mean, this is classic. So anybody that's interested in going back and reading old stuff and trying to find, sort of the cream of the crop, the critically lauded, this is where you pick up. And so, to that end, I think it's definitely worth anybody's read.
Agreed.
Cool. All right. That concludes Daredevil 230. So now, my next issue, No More Bots, from Virus Comics. It's just a fun thing to say. No more bots.
No more.
This issue is about in this dystopian world. I don't even want to say future. In this dystopian world, the robots are the preeminent species, I want to say, that runs the world. Humans are still very much humans, but there's not a lot of us. So robots now take pills to experience human emotions, and everything
Emo
is
pills.
run by emo pills, which is hilarious in and of itself. But robots run everything. They have like their own news, they have their own government, they run the society, and humans are the subsequent species on the planet. What happens in this world where the robots that take the emo pills revolt because they have the emotions given to them by the human pills, and they see that this is wrong. So you take out logic, you just see emotion, and this is not right. So what happens in this world? What do you guys think?
I think I like hippie bots. I think I could be friends with hippie bots.
Definitely get high on some pills together.
Right. I really like this book. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is an imprint of Heavy Metal Mag. So you get the that hardcore speculative fiction, and it's done well. The artwork is fantastic and really well done. It's does a lot with the sequential art to keep everything moving. Even though it's a story about taking drugs or whatever, it has moments in it that really kind of stand out, character moments that really stand out. I'm curious as to what extent the robots actually experience the emotion, because that's never really explored. And I'm also curious as to what the humans affect, the girl that they save and kidnap, what her effect on the world is going to be moving forward, because she seems to be the main character of this story towards the end, or at least the character that you're going to follow in subsequent issues. It's kind of a wild ride. You have to kind of suspend a lot of expectations and just sort of take it for what it is, because there's a lot of weird stuff. But that's heavy metal. That's hardcore weird sci-fi, which I dig. Overall, though, I thought it was pretty good. I think it's kind of fucked up that she at the end smashes the one robot's face and then takes his his faceplate, basically. But I mean, if you're being kidnapped and held against your will by a bunch of robots, maybe that's what you do. I don't know. Russ, what are your thoughts?
So I liked it in the way that I would have liked a heavy metal story, right? So, because if you put a heavy metal magazine, all however many pages those things normally are, plopped it down in front of me, I would immediately start reading, right? I just would. I'm just all in, right? I don't know if I'm willing to subscribe, but don't give me one, because if you give me one, I'm gonna eat it up.
I
Right?
I thought about it after reading this. I was like, I kind of want to subscribe to Heavy Metal Mag now.
Yes.
So
I'm now. If you want to share a digital subscription, we can talk. But that's another conversation. So I liked all of that. So this gave me. I liked that one of the robots had wires for dreads,
yeah,
right? To just show a different flavor of a character. I like the surprise at the end and how they shifted the point of view character to someone else before the story was done. That made this a very good one and done story. Like if I never read another issue, I got enough of a resolution in this one to appreciate and enjoy it. I like the artwork. Pretty much, like I said, if this was a heavy metal book you put in front of me, I'm just going to read it. And it's definitely worth the money, visually and story wise. So, yes, we need to talk about a heavy metal type of thing. We need to find a way to support them. If they're going to keep giving us this even now, after all these years, and they need to do some kind of movie. Like, why don't they do a Netflix heavy metal anthology? Right? That should be happening all the time.
well, I
They
remember.
definitely have the content.
Yeah, I remember the animated movie that they did back in the day.
There were two,
There's
right?
two of them.
Julie Strain did the second one. Yes.
Okay.
There's a heavy metal 2 movie with Julie Strain as the main character. I don't know if you know who that is, but find out, and you need to find it and watch it, and then we can talk about what you think about that second.
Yeah, because I remember getting the first one on VHS at Blockbuster, like
Yep.
renting it for the weekend.
Right, and I yep,
Wow.
and I remember it felt like low key porn in a way,
Yeah, yeah,
So that was great for me, and you don't. It's the kind of stories that you don't necessarily see coming. For me, I love stories that I can't predict, and
yeah.
you don't know how these things are going to turn out. And I certainly didn't see the ending of this book coming.
No,
So this is definitely in the vein of what is marketed towards someone like me. So I enjoyed it. Now, if only we can get Comixology Originals to start doing some heavy metal stuff like this. Now we have competition. Now we can do some things.
right.
Good find, by the way. Imagine.
Yeah,
Good
this
find.
was definitely a good pick. All right. I guess any final thoughts on Nomo bots?
No more.
Nomo. Okay.
No more thoughts.
All right, we got some topics in the roundtable section of our show notes. These are just extra links that we like to share with each other, stuff that we found interesting throughout the week. Russ, you want to start with your Gambit fan film?
Yes, somebody did a Gambit fan film, and it's pretty good. Right? We're never going to get, and thank God we're never going to get, what's his name doing a Gambit film?
Oh,
But-
Channing Tatum.
Yeah, thank God we're never going to get that. But some people, some people put together a fan film for Gambit, and we're going to put it in the show notes. It's
Yeah.
on YouTube. That was actually pretty good. Now the accent falls off sometimes. It's not
Yeah.
perfect, but it's definitely something that would take place in Gambit's world. Rogue is in it. And I could see that this is when I think of, remember when Marvel was doing those little short movies? They would be at the end of.
Oh yeah.
Right. I could see stuff like this could fit. Marvel needs to do some of these things.
Yeah.
Right. Like what if they could take a 2-hour movie and block it into 20-minute chunks? Now they have a season. They can say,
That'd be
here's a
great.
season of this. Right.
Yeah.
And so this made me think of something that could happen that way if done right. It's definitely worth your time to see. And again, we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, so conceptually I like it. It does fall flat. It's a little B tier with the acting.
Yeah, well, I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. But I give these guys props for putting this together because it's shot really well. Like the costumes and shit were really well done.
Yeah.
I was kind of blown away.
And they got the OG B movie actor. What's his name? He's been in 1,000 B movie. He got more acting credits than Nicolas Cage.
don't
What
know.
is that guy's name?
I
What is the guy? You know the guy sitting on the other end of the table?
No, I don't know what his name is.
Okay, but
It's-
he's been in 2 million movies. I'm telling you that they all, and 90% of them went direct to video, but he's still that guy in all of them. And Nicolas Cage will never have as many movie credits as this guy. I can't remember his name right now, but you'll see it when you see the link. I hope you enjoy it. You know what? It should be a way. I wonder if instead of playing it, it will tell me all the characters. Co-produce, produce. Okay. What is his name? Eric Roberts.
Eric
That's the
Roberts.
name of the.
Okay, yeah, he was in Cable
everything,
Guy
man.
too.
Watch. If you look up Eric Roberts' IMDb page,
Looking at it now.
and I haven't even looked, right? Let's see how many millions of movies he has done.
I just remember him from Cable Guy because of
Like even on TV, I can see 30 credits from different things he did in television in the year 2017 alone. Right?
Yeah.
This guy is everywhere, and he's still the same guy in everything. And look, if I just look at the credits from 2020, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to
1, 2,
get to
3, 4.
2019 and I have to scroll all the way down.
They're like
because
30 credits from
2020,
2020.
2020,
Eric
2020.
Roberts Eric Roberts is the fucking shit, man. I'm gonna let you know. Eric Roberts gets an honorary pass. Eric Roberts been in so much shit that I love and like, especially on the fringe of movies that don't necessarily make the mainstream. If you're a movie guy, you've seen Eric Roberts 5 times a year. Nicolas Cage ain't got nothing on this guy, right? And I'm just saying, I see stuff he's already done for this coming out in 2021, like 20 things.
Yeah.
This guy is killing it, man. Does this guy sleep? I don't know. Maybe he's not making as much as Nick, but maybe he loves doing it because he only seems to play himself.
Yeah. These seem like passion projects, but they're all great.
Yeah, see? And then I see we go all the way back to the 90s, right? I see he was in a TV series in 1964. Right? I'm just saying. Is this guy timeless? Is he a Highlander? What the hell is going on?
Captain Pike.
Right?
He was in Star Trek. I think he was in a soap opera, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Looking at his younger pictures.
Yeah.
He was in Heroes. Remember Heroes?
Oh yeah, that was a good series.
Show. Yes. This dude was in everything, man. He was in The Young and the Restless.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Criminal Minds. This guy, does he sleep? I'm just saying, I need to just go find what he's in and just go pick those movies and watch them. Right? They may all be B movies, but I don't care. I'm just going to enjoy it because he's in it.
Right.
And I don't think he even cares. He's just having fun. And look at all this stuff. Even 30 things coming in 2021. Man. Eric Roberts is the shit. Dude, you got my hat's off to you, man. Keep doing what you do. You have shaped and molded my movie universe.
That's funny.
And TV too.
All right. Shout out to Eric Roberts. If you're watching or listening to the podcast, he's probably too busy to listen to podcasts, but
yeah, he's doing 3 movies at the same time right now. And a web series.
Yeah. I put in the show notes a link to the first big article that I posted on our website, and this is going to be the beginning of a series of posts that I do, and I'm calling it the pull list evaluation. I'm basically going to take a serious look at what I'm actually buying at the comic shop every week. I don't know that I'll actually write an article every week, but I'm going to take a serious look at those books and then break down whether or not I should continue to have it on my pull list. Is it worth my money every single month or every other week? And this article I tackled Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the current ongoing series by IDW, and I say that no, it's not worth my pull list.
Okay.
Didn't make the cut.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. First of all, if you want to read his article, it's on cornercomics.net. You can read that and then come back and see where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
You like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I do.
You always have. You are a fan, and fan is short for fanatic, which means you put up with shit the average person won't put up with. and following your fandom, right? Following your fanaticism, right? You like the new incarnation, what they're doing in this comic.
I do.
Generally, in this run. And then you have one comic or 1.5 comics that's not quite what you want, and you want to shit on the whole thing. Are you a fan or are you not? Are you in this? You can't just be a part-time. I'm only if it's good, only if every single book is good am I going to be. Are you serious?
So
if you love the characters, you love them. You need all the whole story, man.
No,
so the graphic novels. Go ahead.
All right. So the point I was making though was that it's okay to not pick up every single issue or to stop buying the issues for a while. And part of the reason I came to that conclusion was like this one book does not continue the story. So there's no indication that the next book is going to jump back. Maybe 10 issues before they revisit the one little plot thread that they started. So is it worth my money every month? No, it's not. And I think that's something that's okay and that should be normalized. People should not feel obligated.
I think people should just start buying graphic novels and then they don't have to worry about every single issue meeting the stop. It's too expensive anyway. You guys are ballers. It's spending all this dang money, right? It's not. It's. I don't know. I mean, how expensive does a book have to be for you just saying just no, it's not worth all this money, right? Is it $10? You got to. Is it 750? When books go to 750, are you going to stop buying them individually? What's the number?
750 an issue for how
Well,
many
what are,
pages?
what are they now? Well, not 100 pages. That's
No,
not
they're-
guaranteed.
No, I mean for how many pages?
Yeah,
What,
What,
they're,
30?
average comic?
they're
Yeah,
three
not the comic books you
$3.99.
guys put up, but the average book.
They're $3.99 for the average book.
So
And you get
I
32
remember when they
pages
were
usually.
still only 35 cents. So I'm old like that.
Yeah.
$3.99 is a lot now. So because that of that price point, I believe the value has to be higher. So in that context, I accept your statement.
Okay.
Right? If they were $2, fuck you, just buy it. You like them anyway, right? But now once they go up to they're $4 now, right? So are they going to jump to $5 or $4.50? Probably jump to $5, right?
Yeah, probably
At
go
what
to
point are you going to
$4.99.
say it's okay? At what point are you going to say this is too much, it's too expensive?
Well, I probably won't. I'll just buy less. So, spend at least $20 a week on comics.
Okay.
I buy at least
If
four.
$20 is your number and you stay within your range, then in the scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you got to take some you got to take some risks.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so like I spend $20 a week. That's 4 or 5 issues.
Mhm.
And
That's more than my water bill, by the way.
it's more than my water bill too. But yeah, I mean, so that gives me, $20. I'll play around with that amount. But if if there's something that's showing up in my pull list that's not delivering every month, I'll drop it. I'll find something else. I'll pick up another book that maybe I wouldn't have read otherwise.
Makes sense.
So, but anyway, I'm gonna do that moving forward. So if anybody is in the same position that I'm in, and wants to think about like, damn, I want to keep collecting this, but I'm not enjoying it. We'll have that conversation, and I'll break down different points of why it's a good idea to keep collecting or why it's not.
But if you're collecting, then you need all of them. So here's the thing: are you collecting, or are you just buying them to read, or are you buying them to collect? Help me understand what your commitment is here.
You can always go back and dig in the back issue bin if you want to fill in a run.
Hopefully you can find them.
Yeah,
Because things that aren't as popular get harder and harder to find, right?
true.
So yeah, hopefully that works. But if you're doing it only because if collecting is secondary, then you should only collect when you're digging from the crates, right? If it's for reading, because you enjoy the reading, then you buy them at the regular price, right?
Okay.
I mean, you can't. I feel like you can't serve two masters.
I-
Are you collecting or are you not? Now, if you're collecting on the back end, like I'm gonna spend Saturday and I'm gonna go dig in the crates, and I'm gonna spend an extra $20 in them crates and get about this many books, I ain't mad at you at none of that, right? But if you talking about, I'm collecting at $4.99, you ain't collecting at $4.99. You are buying to read at $4.99.
Well, you are, and then they go in the box.
And then maybe collecting
To
after
collect.
that. Yeah, and then be like, well, now it's like collecting garbage. I collect a whole bunch of stuff I read and put it in the box, right? So it won't be on the floor and my wife won't get mad. That's not collecting. That's like picking up litter.
I think you can do both. I think you can collect and read, and
Okay.
maybe that's what what that column will explore a little more deeply.
Maybe you need a thing. Read, collect, discard, or whatever you want, right? And give it a review like that.
Okay.
Like
Sounds good.
what is it? What if somebody does this on some other website where they go it's a read, it's a pass or something like that.
Oh yeah. There's a guy that does that with video games too.
Yeah. So I understand if you give it a read, or did you give it? Is it don't buy it, don't read it, or don't engage? What do you give this particular Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book? Don't even read it.
So the most recent one is not really worthy of a read because it doesn't follow any of the stuff that they've been building up that much.
Maybe building some new stuff. So
Well,
it's
yeah.
not worth it. If it is it worth it if it was $2 instead of 4 or 5?
Yeah, but
Would it be worth
it's
it?
forgettable though. I mean, it's
It's part of every anime has forgettable episodes. Remember when Goku had to learn how to drive?
for
Right?
10
This is-
episodes. Yeah, you get like
Yeah, right.
they're
So
powering
every
up for 30 of them. Yeah.
right every good run got a forgettable episode. You can't just stop. Are you in it? Are you ride? Are we ride or die? Or are you just trying to die?
We got a viewer right now.
What?
Dark
Get outta here.
Yeah, Dark Sage.
Hey,
Says-
Dark Sage, how you doing?
Says he's not sure how he feels about the upcoming Black Widow movie. On one hand, I know it's a prequel to the new Phase, but did anyone ask for the Black Widow movie?
Okay, stop it. Nobody cares what you asked for. Just quit that shit right now. They'll be like, I wonder what you want. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure you're a good dude, but nobody does anything because you asked for it. They do something because they have a larger plan, right? There's a whole bunch of Marvel movies I didn't ask for. I didn't ask for some Ant-Man 2 shit either.
It was a
But
good
I got
movie,
that
dude.
shit, right? It's okay. It's not terrible, right? There's a bunch of stuff. I didn't ask for all the that first Captain America movie. I didn't ask for a lot, but I got it, and I appreciate it. I didn't ask for Black Panther, but I got one. You get what's there. Stop. So let's start with that. I didn't ask for it. Don't get me wrong. Sure, you do. They have a story.
Thanks for writing in, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. I don't want to discourage that. What I do want to say is this: Marvel needs some women leadership movies. They don't have a lot to choose from, right? And then they have pretty much every one of the Avengers has their own movie, except for the Hulk because he can't, except her. So in order to do her justice in the Woman Lives Matter movement, you need her. She needs to have a movie. It's just right, a right thing to do.
I'm interested in a spy movie made by Marvel, and Black Widow has always been deceptive. Even when she first appeared on the scene in Iron Man, how we all thought, well, not we, the audience, but everyone thought that she was there for one reason. She was there really to recruit, spy on Tony Stark. She always is with the okie doke, like just you think it's this, but it's something completely different. I want to see that a Marvel movie succeeds in a spy movie that I don't see the ending. I can't predict what comes out of it. And as a purely male standpoint, I want to see Scarlett Johansson in some tights again. I would just prefer that.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it.
And I think Marvel needs to try all the different genres. So a spy genre makes sense. They've done space opera.
Yeah.
They've done, back in time travel. They've done a lot of different things, but there's still a lot of different things they haven't done.
Yeah, I mean it's not necessarily something that I'm super excited about or anything, but I'm sure it's going to be a fun movie. You know what I mean?
And it's not,
The-
they're not going to be cheap with it, right? Marvel
No,
doesn't-
exactly. The production values are going to be like right up there with where they need to be.
And and look, I don't know if we're gonna have movies. You probably gonna get to watch it on Disney Plus anyway. And if
Right.
you already pay for Disney Plus, whatever.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it, right? and if it's part of the tapestry of the Marvel universe going forward, like there's some other things that are going to happen, those are things you want to see. And let's just be real. No matter what, you will watch this movie. I don't care if it's a year later.
They're gonna stick some shit in there that's like either at the end or the beginning that's gonna tie it to something else that maybe you are interested in. So
Yeah.
And
look, if you're a Marvel movie fan, you're gonna watch this movie. You just are, right? Whether it's free, bootleg, or out on video on demand or whatever, it's a Marvel movie. How many Marvel movies, Matt? Let me ask you, how many Marvel movies since Marvel owned them have you missed?
A few.
Which ones, if you don't mind me asking?
Trying to
Talk
think.
about like Ant-Man is great, but you ain't watching all the other ones.
Well, I mean, I think I've seen all of them, except for the Spider-Man ones. I haven't seen Homecoming or.
Okay, and I'm not mad at you for that. I'm okay with Spider-Man. That's a whole other thing.
Well, you are, man, because you're a Spider-Man fan. So.
Yeah, you are, right? So,
And
but you didn't watch all. And
I do
Emmanuel
think
didn't
that
watch all
actor
the
does a
X-Men
great
movies.
job as Peter Parker Spider-Man. But
yeah, agreed. And now he's getting ready to do Nathan Drake. So that's coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Emmanuel, have you missed any Marvel movies?
No, not at all. Not at
No.
all.
So the way I see it is, whether or not this movie comes to the theater and you watch it there, you know that I already know you're going to watch it. So why have any critique ahead of time? You're going to watch it no matter what. Right? If they do a MODOK movie, you're going to watch it. It doesn't matter. Right? It might be crap, but they're going to get 2 hours out of your life no matter what. You may not pay for it, you may bootleg it, but they got 2 hours of your life.
Yeah.
They got it, and you're going to give it to them and say, more, please. So let it go.
And I think a part of it is people like to talk about it, even if the natural inclination is to lean towards negativity, which I don't necessarily agree with, but people still like to talk about it.
People like to talk about Tiger King too, but that don't mean that.
True,
that don't make it a good movie.
No, it's still in the public eye.
That don't make it worth your time.
It's still in the public eye. It's still a part of the public discord that's going on, and there's a sense of unity with that because people have been talking about it that don't really have other things to speak about. But so you heard about this Tiger King?
If that's all they got, they might not need to talk to each other. Maybe they can just pass. The only thing we got to talk about is that Simpsons episode. Really? That's all we got to relate on? I'm past. Hey. You and I obviously can't be friends. That's all we got? Yeah, I know you will. You of that generation of buffoonery comic animation. Right?
Family Guy.
And I'm not saying it's a terrible thing. It's just not. It's there. Matt, we talked about how you only got a certain amount of TV watch time that you really willing to spend. Buffoonery comic animation, the best you can have that on is when I'm washing dishes and not really watching the screen.
That's fair. Yeah,
I've had some laugh out loud moments with those, whether it be in the background or just
but
me
how many hours you gotta watch to, like I said, how much you gotta watch to get that? And if you are what you eat and you feed yourself buffoonery, mic drop.
I mean, it takes all kinds. I'm an amalgamation of a lot of things: buffoonery and brevity and seriousness.
There's nothing wrong with being amalgamation, but doesn't mean you put shit in your soup. A soup is an amalgamation of a lot of different things. You don't need to put any
that
shit
would kill
in
me.
it.
That's toxic, and that would kill me.
Yeah, but it might not kill you. You just might get sick, right? Just a drop of shit, right? Just a spoonful of shit.
And on that note, gentlemen.
Oh man.
Anyway, yeah. So if you've been watching along, if you just joined us, this is the end of the episode. But you can go back, cornercomics.net. You can watch the archive of the show. We're also on BitChute. I may start uploading to YouTube again. We'll see how they treat me. After we lost episode 30 or 31.
And had to redo it, yeah.
Yeah, kind of disappointed with that. But
right. And by the way, if you got a problem with my attitude and how I'm dealing with these things, tell me about it, man. We can have honest discourse. Drop me a note, send me a link, hit me on my Twitter.
Yeah.
I am willing to have honest discourse about pretty much any subject. Right? I have an opinion on all of it. But I would like to hear your thoughts. And if you think I'm outrageous, then tell me so. Please.
Yeah, we're live on Twitch every Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific. Sometimes we don't start right at 9, but yeah, usually
9-ish.
9 to 9:10. We'll jump on and start streaming. So you can jump on in the chat next week if you have any thoughts or comments.
And thanks for watching us, man. It's good to somebody paying attention. We like doing this, but it's great to have someone here with us.
Indeed.
Yeah, and little known fact, I'm still not an X-Men fan. Just
putting it
but
out
are you
there.
a Fantastic Four fan?
I am.
Okay, that's good enough for me. Matt, are you a Fantastic Four fan?
I'm slowly becoming more of a Fantastic Four fan.
I'm just trying to make everybody like me, so that works.
we'll all be Doom bots.
There we go.
In the
No more
future.
bots.
No more bots.
All right. Until next week, gentlemen.
Peace.
of
sweat a flavor?
secretions.
Is sweat a flavor?
I think